Welcome to the Empowered Soul podcast and See Mama Bird's Chirps, a cozy audio nest of soulful musings and heart-made creations. If you're a mystical soul craving connection and inspiration, you've found your flock. Hi, I am MC Mama Bird, a mama, artist, and yoga and meditation guide, here to share love-rooted stories, tingling conversations with inspiring souls, and everyday magic for your soul and your family. This is where we awaken to our true selves together. Now let's take a deep breath and let our wings stretch wide to enjoy the ride. Before we begin, I want to share a quick disclaimer. Views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Empowered Soul podcast. Thank you. Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Empowered Soul podcast. Today, we're opening our hearts to the beautiful story of compassion in action. How one woman's love for dogs has rippled across borders and changed lives in some of the most difficult areas for animals, without a home and without care. My guest today is Ava Gallant, the founder of South Dakota, Caring for Canines. Again, emphasis on South Dakota, Caring for Canines. This is an organization that has brought hope, healing, and second chances to dogs in war-torn and conflict regions, including Romania, Iraq, and Afghanistan. In this conversation today, we'll explore what it truly means to live with your soul's purpose through service, how the love for the animals can awaken our inner compassion, and how love can travel across the oceans. And one act of kindness can create waves of light throughout the whole world. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's journey together into this story of love, courage, and connection. A deep reminder that every soul, human or animal, is part of the same great tapestry of light. Ava, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your profound and beautiful story. We met at the Mushroom Festival in Bear Buttes. Our little family was just going to check out the love of nature and foraging there, and I had no idea that I would meet you there on your very informative booth. Without hesitation and too much thinking, I just felt our meeting was guided and that your work would be perfect to exhibit on our show. I also love dogs beyond words. They are my first teachers, and I always had dogs in my life, and I always wanted to feed them and rescue them off the streets. I grew up in the second poorest country in Central America, actually in Latin America, Honduras. It is very rough out there for the street dogs. And then in my late 30s, I met my spirit dog and soulmate Pixie in Mexico, and I brought her up to the U.S., and I am honoring her life as well this month of November, so it's perfect timing for a Love Your Dogs month. And now I have a rescue pup from Mexico too. Dogs everywhere need help, and I wish I could rescue them all. And since I do not have myself a direct way of doing this, I collect lists of shelters and helpers like yourself worldwide so that together we can make an effort towards change and awareness. I am so grateful, and I'm so happy that you're here. So how are you? And can you share with us about your organization, please, your mission, when it started and how you got into it?
Yeah, hello, Marcella, and all our listeners. Thank you today for the opportunity to listen to my story. I hope it's inspiring, and I really appreciate the opportunity to spread the word about my organization, South Dakota Caring for Canines. So we started in the year 2022. When the war started in Ukraine, I felt compelled that I needed to go over there and help with the dogs in need, with, people were fleeing. It was just chaos. And so in an effort to help out, I saddled up and basically went over there, but I ended up being in Romania, which is the country on the western side of Ukraine, just to be a little bit in a more safe space, because we actually had a team from another organization that went deep into the conflict zone to help out. But once in Romania, we were building a shelter to help those dogs, because there was a measure of influx of dogs that came. And again, then there was, abandoned dogs anyway. And there's a whole slew of things we'll discuss today about how dogs are treated poorly in Eastern Europe and beyond. So that was my endeavor to help out. Again, I went into Romania and was there for several weeks, but became painfully aware about the tragic encounters of these poor street dogs that are in Romania.
Yeah. And there's also organizations that you support there as well, not just in South Dakota, but in other countries as well as Romania. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Absolutely. So basically, if I just may highlight, our mission is we are we are a fundraising entity only. South Dakota Caring for Canines is a fundraising entity only. And we are focused on helping privately run shelters within South Dakota, as well as those located in war-torn areas, such as Iraq and Afghanistan. So, and many of the shelters abroad, they lack sufficient funding. And our goal at South Dakota Caring for Canines is to bring awareness and support these struggling shelters as we can, along with shelters that we support, of course, here locally. I mean, the need is great, but the reason why I started my organization is, first of all, to bring awareness, and secondly, our shelters here, fortunately, have much better platforms. Now, while most shelters are run either, from the cities, but they have to literally live and operate on donations. But here the shelters have a much better platform to put out the word and engage the community. But there are shelters run by privateers and others that are literally, you don't even know how they can exist, and people literally give their own food and their own whatever they need in order to just help those animals. And this is our particular group that we help. All the shelters we do help have been vetted by us, so it's not just some shady something where, unfortunately, it's just also the truth about lots, we hear these things, but whoever we are supporting, they are solid, and I will vouch for them any day of the week. The purpose for our mission is to provide rescue, shelter, help with veterinary care costs for abused and neglected dogs through fundraising. So often I'm asked, okay, Eva, do you have some kennels and do you have dogs to show us? No, because again, we are just a fundraising entity, and we are primarily focused on helping privately run shelters within South Dakota, as well as those located in current war-torn areas and in Romania. So many of those shelters lack sufficient funding, and our goal is to bring awareness and support to these struggling shelters, and actually, basically make people aware that these places are out there And in connection with that, I'd like to point out to the audience that many of our shelters here, although everybody depends on donations, because even city-run shelters are a donation-based operation, basically. And while the cities provide the facility and the land and everything, but pretty much every shelter in the United States has to live on donations. But our shelters here, first of all, the conditions in those shelters is 180 from what is abroad. And furthermore, our audience, local shelters reach out to the community. They have fundraising drives and this and that. And the shelters that we highlight, we support, basically don't have that platform. So it was important to me to give a helping hand whenever I can through fundraising to help those guys who literally just can't even help themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And it's brilliant. It's not like they can start a 501c3 over there, and technology is different. And even the way people work is different. The culture is different. I completely empathize with that because we have people that I know of through my family. For example, where I'm from in La Ceiba. Oh, I know of this guy and he's trying to help the dogs, but he's just a dad, a typical guy who has a little bit of land and he cares about the dogs. To be thinking about 501c3 tax donations from the USA is way over their head, and they're really trying to do good. And the amount of help like that is so limited in Honduras. So limited.
As it is
breaks your heart.
Thank you. Well, so as it is in Eastern Europe in particular, or in Iraq, Afghanistan, because the platform or the way to operate on the 501c3, where you have a legitimate, you have to file taxes every year. If you don't comply, and these filings are very strict, and one can lose their 501c3 status very quickly if you don't comply with what's involved. But if I may highlight that, the reason why I started, besides the obvious to help the animals, but as a 501c3, recognizing these shelters who don't have that opportunity, such as the small ones abroad, because in Europe you don't have a 501c3, that's just not the way things are done. It works on a completely different level. That means, say for instance, here as EU citizens through social media in America, we want to donate to a shelter abroad. So when you donate through us and you tell us where you would like to have this money donated to, and because we are 501c3, then you designate it to us, and we'll basically on your behalf send that money and evidence that, of course, with the paperwork. But then you also have the opportunity to write off your taxes, because again, if you were to donate directly to the bank accounts in Romania or elsewhere, and it's not on a 501c3 level, then definitely you cannot write off on your taxes. And if those donations are substantial, then certainly that is something to consider. Now, that looks like a little bit of money handling, but it's really not. But it just gives our people here the opportunity to, make sure that money gets where it needs to go. And of course, I would never discourage anyone to make direct donations, but our followers who have kindly supported us, they, will vouch for me beyond measure. And so it's, in my little circle, may I say, it has become a measure of people being able to donate and actually get that credit for it also, even though the money may go abroad. And so, but on that note, I should point out, we are strong supporters of Warpath in Iraq, as well as Kabul Small Animal Rescue in Kabul. Now, the shelter in Kabul is helmed and basically created by Charlotte Maxwell Jones. She is a lady from Tennessee. And so Kabul Small Animal Rescue is a 501c3 and a U.S. charity. And so we encourage everyone to, go directly on their website. And then Warpath is held by Louise. She is an English lady, but because in England they were able to file as a 501c3 and on other UK levels. So I just wanted to put out the two entities we love and support, and we do what we can to help them, but also want to encourage people to donate to them directly through the individual portals.
Yeah, that's great. And now, are these two entities available on your website if people wanted to find them directly, for example?
Yes, they are available on our website, which is www.southdakotaSDcaringforcanines.org. Again, www.sd for South Dakota, caringforcanines.org.
Perfect. I'll definitely make sure to include this in the show notes for more information. And a lot of people actually read the description and do click on those links. So I'll make sure I have that link there so that they can pursue that further if they wish. Thank you so much for letting us know about that possibility as well of how people can help.
Yeah, of course. Don't feel compelled that you have to help us. Help your local shelter. Help what's in your heart. But the bottom line is the big message today is, especially now around Christmas time, where we do seem to be a little bit more generous, please consider buying a bag of food, or if you don't have the means and you have some free time, walk a dog in a shelter or help them to be socialized. Or, often, all your old towels and blankets and all of this, there is something for everybody that everybody can do to help a local shelter. Or, if it's not with monetary donations to any sort of designated place they do want to donate to, there are so many ways to help. I mean, people could, for instance, the whole thing with Marketplace. I have sometimes donors who donate beautiful things to me, like one of my favorite persons who's always so generous. She made these beautiful doll houses, and that was one of her hobbies, and then donated those doll houses to me so I can sell them on Etsy. And the money I get to keep to help the animals. So, let's just say if you're older and you look through your stuff and you think, oh, I don't need this anymore, we gladly take things like that and then turn it to cash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Writing it down as well. That is so great. That is so clever. It's amazing. What a great idea. Because some of these things could be like a unique doll or a unique piece of art or something like that could definitely be sold, and then the resources go back to the organizations that you all support.
Yeah, or on another occasion, I do raffles, and because everybody can afford maybe $2-3 for a raffle ticket. And so very unique items that have been donated to South Dakota Caring for Canines, I actually offer them as a raffle. And we have live drawings, so there's no shenanigans. So, in any case, whatever you can give, we appreciate it. Certainly money always, is needed because, we certainly are short on funding for the needs we would like to cover.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. And is there anything else you would love to share with us about the organizations you support here or worldwide?
Well, perhaps I'd like to narrow it down. It's like, okay, Eva, what is it? Is this like your full-time thing? Again, I spilled into creating the 501c3 actually through a gentleman that is also now our legal expert, an attorney, that pointed out when I was selling in a bake sale dog cookies, he said, Eva, you really want to protect your business. because, legally, if I'm looking at this, it was an attorney that would be in the dog park and watch me try to sell dog cookies to raise funds and so forth, who stepped forward and said, I want to help you. And so he was the one who actually put our 501c3 in place. So we do have also legal counsel available to us, to make sure everything is on the up and up. And so, but moreover, where I'm going with this is I actually have a profession. I am a decorative artist, and I work on large-scale commissions, residential, hospitality, or commercial. So when I do have a commission, I actually, my husband and I, we donate upward to 35% of my income to the cause. And so we do with less. We are pretty frugal people and have worked our entire lives and are able to do that. But what I'd really like to highlight, so if one asks, okay, what is a decorative artist? So I basically do very large wall finishes or some restorations, faux finishes perhaps. I'm not a house painter, but I just do a decorative painting. Like if you see these fancy finishes or Italian Venetian plasters, mineral plasters and so forth. So, thank you, which brings me to my point. And sometimes I create something on retail. And whatever I create on retail, meaning a smaller item, but I don't necessarily paint canvases on occasion, but I'm actually more known for my plaster reliefs. And so my plaster reliefs, I would cultivate something and then ultimately make it available for sale, and all proceeds go to the animals in need. And with that in mind, in the time of the year, I'd like to underscore the availability of our nativity wreath, which was inspired during a visit to France. I saw something in a church, and when I came home, it was a project 3 years in the making, where I thought, I'm going to carve this nativity scene out of a carvable wax as a wreath, then make a mold, and then this particular mold, I cast a high-density plaster. So you basically have a nativity scene in the form of a wreath. And that is what now is available. You will see the several designs on our website. But if you buy one of those beautiful wreaths, not only you have a unique nativity, but moreover, all the money that you spend will go to help animals.
And in which website are the wreaths available?
I have a link on the South Dakota Canines.org website. Also, my business is called Why Not Creations, and that is capital Y as in Yankee, dash KNOT, like the knot in your stomach, dash creations.com. Why Not Creations? Or if you Google my name, Eva Galland, it will come up. Eva spelled with an E. And for those who have been speculating, what is that accent all about, is I am from Germany. And I came to the United States 34 years ago, and the accent has never left me, no matter how hard I try. So just to a little bit of an understanding is like, who is this woman and where is she from? Inside. And that's why also the war in Ukraine has touched me particularly, because it is a war in Europe, and in my generation, I never thought that would even ever be a situation. So hence, my feeling to just to do what I can in my capacity. Obviously I'm not, combat material, but rather it's like everybody can do something every day, no matter what the budget is. And in my instance, that's this journey.
Yes, absolutely. And I will also put in the show notes and in the description the Why Not website link so that people can also check it out, because I went there myself and I was very impressed with the pictures and descriptions of your client's work, and it's really beautiful and very special and absolutely very unique. It's not something that you find in your regular superstore, that's for sure. It's really special. So I definitely encourage the listeners, if you love art and are looking into restorations of your home, which we would love to have that kind of service someday, and it's to check out your website because it's really unique. And it has like a feel of European roots as well, I could tell. So I think it's really special. Thank you so much for doing all of that and for putting so much love and devotion going back to the animals. That is absolutely impressive.
Well, may I humbly say I've been a hard worker all my life and had to depend on myself. And with that in mind and coming from old-fashioned German stock, it made me quite independent. It was not like I was single for many years, in between marriages, and I'm just super self-reliant and created, an environment or a safety net for myself where, I do with less. It's, for instance, my car is 23 years old and I'm happy with it. It drives great. So I live with less, and of course I like my wrinkles and I don't resort to any cosmetic high maintenance things. So those are all costs that we take for granted. And I just do without them. And that affords me to do all this stuff. But to come back to what I have done is, again, humbly, I'd like to say for several decades, I managed to do something a little special in each decade. And I am now in my 60s, and I just want to leave the world a little better, in the way that I can, and so I link, for instance, when I embellish someone's home or a hospitality space, I make that better for the space, and then also, what it affords me to do for the animals. So, because there's so much hurt, so much need, I never thought, and I'm not even addressing anything what's going on in Asia, where you have countries that still eat the dogs and the cats, and there's just so much how we treat animals and the lack of education or the circle of violence and all this stuff. I mean, we could for hours on that, but basically if, we're today with your kindness, you introduced me, I definitely want to point out, it's like, okay, why do you do that? In fact, my German cousin today sent me a quick text. It's like, I don't even know how you do all that. And
yes, it's true.
Because, it's a measure of humanity. Yeah. And that doesn't measure up to any sort of, at least for me, any sort of, designer handbag or getting my hair dyed. Like I said, I'm very low maintenance, which allows me to really, just to help out. And for me, it just has a greater purpose.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And wow, yeah, when we start to get into the situation worldwide, in so many different places of poverty and lack of education, consciousness and awareness, it's tough. And I know what you mean. When I go back to Honduras, where I was born and raised, there are many days where I cry and I'm depressed and I don't want to go out of the house because I don't want to see it. And it's not just the dogs and the cats, it's also the donkeys, the horses, and extensively to so many other different animals, manatees, snakes. And how I come to terms with that is that I know that every living thing has a soul because it is the energy that animates all materia, the matter. And my consolation is that, I think these animals come here as angels to really, they have their own purpose. Who knows, this could be beyond me, but they have their own purpose and in the biodiversity of Mother Earth, but also they have a soul and a message. And I feel like especially dogs and cats that are very close to humans, and not to mention horses and so on and so forth, but they come to help us to become more human and awake. And sometimes the humans don't get it, but their soul is pure. And I tend to tell myself this story that there are guardians and angels on the other side that take that soul from the animal away from the body just in time to diminish the pain that they could be going through during any kind of attack on the animal. And one of the angels is Angel Ariel. And I feel very connected to her, and I feel very connected as I work for her. I feel like she's one of my guides. And I feel like one of my jobs, and I've just been awakening to this, is to help the animals while they are incarnate on Earth, but also to help them go to the other side. And it could be that my higher self in the divine realms is welcoming these souls back into the spiritual realm to reintegrate. Maybe in my incarnation here, I'm helping while they are alive, but my higher self is helping on the other side. And I just recently started to become awakened to this job that I have. And there's a lot of synchronicities, and it would require another episode to talk about it. But I feel like there's a lot of angels and guides on the other side that help their souls to cross and help them to come in for their purposes on Earth. And then there's people like you and me and others. And you, of course, are very exemplary in your work. That's why I wanted you so much to be in the show, because this is so humbling, so beautiful. It touches our heart because this is really hard work, and you're helping the animals while they are incarnate down here on Earth. In either way, I feel like in both sides of the tunnel, they're getting help, but the situation is very difficult and very sad. And that little story I just shared is just the way that I try to come to peace with this, because it breaks my heart and I cry and I see the abuse, and there's people out there who just don't think that they're beings with a soul. I mean, have you not looked at the eyes of a dog or a cat or a horse? There is an intelligence there, a consciousness there. It's just, hard to believe that isn't the case. So yeah, it can be very heartbreaking. And actually that brings me to my next question. Like, what have you learned and how can you cope with this hard reality? How do you work with that in your life? Because it's just very difficult, and it just makes me cry when I go to that place of realizing how much there is.
Yeah, it's definitely a very hard line of work. It's heartbreaking. In fact, I need to start compartmentalizing, because some days I am just overwhelmed with grief. And I don't even know how I push through. But I have a husband that is extremely supportive. I think the man is a saint, literally, because of, in part finances. On that note, speaking of finances, generosity, and so forth, I literally emptied out one of my retirement accounts to save a shelter in Romania. And with much pride and a full heart, I can say we are almost at the point where we have all the animals in one place, because the shelter, which was just a bunch of rubble where dogs were, the land was taken back, and those dogs were in dire danger of being euthanized. But there's more to that story. But every day, I work so hard. This year I was very fortunate. I had quite a few commissions. A commission I had last year with a local home builder here. Actually, I took the money from that entire job. So there's the aspect of finance, which is horrible, because obviously, these are hard times for everyone, and to give money is crazy and crazy hard, and just, a lot of people just can't do that, and then people have other priorities, and you gotta respect that. But in my endeavor and taking on this measure of responsibility, is literally I have to compartmentalize. I have to compartmentalize the emotional, basically the emotional component of it, as well as the financial component, because sometimes I just can't help. Sometimes I can't get money. But then on the other hand, you have, platforms like My Giving Cycle, where you can vote for your local charity to win a prize, or you can enter a raffle. Well, once again, that is linked to a spending. But there are many of these, I wouldn't call them contests, but for instance, mygivingcycle.org, they highlight these charities, and they go in a context, and there are other platforms likewise. But for me, emotionally to cope with that is honestly, I can say after many years of turmoil in my own life, that I have now a wonderful environment that keeps me grounded. Plus, maybe this is the time now to share. I do have 5 rescue dogs. 2 are from Texas, and 3 are from Romania. And I encourage everyone who is wanting to learn a little bit to read my blog on several of these dogs in their journey, because what my dogs have gone through, no dog should go through. No dog should go through. I have my oldest, Pippa, she's 9. She was on the train outside for 7.5 years, and we'll just leave it at that. And then my Rexy, he was being strangled to death when he was by one of the shelter workers and saved. And I just encourage you to read my blog and the stories on them, because I don't think it's hard to match my efforts. I mean, I flew back to Romania to take some dogs home, because I looked in their eyes, as you indicated, with the soul and the love, and there is no greater love, no purer love, no more sincerity than the love of it. And I'm privileged that my dogs love me so much, but likewise, I also try to give them the best life, and also the measure of responsibility. I mean, I'd like to highlight that right now, urgently. It's Christmas. Don't think, puppy for Christmas, that's a great present, because by Easter, those poor puppies are going to be back in the shelter. We have so many shelter dogs, and respectfully to decent breeders out there, I just don't even see the need why we need to breed dogs. But then often, there's also society. It's like you want your designer dog, you want your French bulldog, or you want your, like poodlish type dog and so forth. Just think, is it really necessary? And then what happens in the puppy mills, for another episode altogether. Overall, if you can rescue a dog from the shelter, but then also, just because the dog is old and has tumors and illnesses, I mean, right now, actually, we have to cut back a little bit, because one of our dogs, who was stricken with parvo when he was young, has severe gastric problems, and that is expensive. The food is expensive, the treatment is expensive, so be prepared for that expense. So I encourage everyone, if you cannot make the commitment to have a dog for life, that means the good, the bad, and the ugly, then don't make that commitment. But help out in the shelter, donate your old blankets. There's something for everybody to do. But my worry, once again, it's Christmas time, and we have that puppy under the tree. And so, literally, there is a word of caution.
Yeah, there's a lot of education that needs to be given out about that. So I'm really glad that you brought it up. And it's a long-term commitment, and we want to feed them delicious food, give them lots of love and attention. They're not a stuffed animal, right? I mean, it's a living being. That's why I call my dogs my fur babies. They're my children, because They need walks. They need love, snuggles, and veterinary care. And as we know, that can be very expensive. And I want my dogs to live as long as possible. And so, there's a lot that goes into taking care of them. Like they are part of our family. I don't even say they're part of our family. They are our family. Yeah. So we definitely want to bring this kind of awareness. There's other things too. Luckily here is a lot better than Honduras and other places in terms of sterilization, so that the animals can be taken care of earlier in their lives.
Yeah, the education, especially urgently sterilization, and that in itself, because And a lot of people don't even deem that necessary. But, all in all, the world's problems, especially with the overpopulation, can be controlled. Several things. I say education. Teach your kids to be kind to the animals. Then number two, the dog should be sterilized. And in that endeavor, if sterilizations would be made affordable by, the state, especially now focusing on the countries abroad. Again, here in the United States, that's fantastic. You get a dog from the shelter, and for your adoption fee, say between $100 and $300, you have the whole kit and caboodle. You have the dog sterilized, dewormed, all the vaccinations, and the follow-up with the vet. So what we have in the States is far better than abroad, because abroad, literally, it's especially in Eastern Europe, it's really the older generations. They are not educated to deem that important, and the resources are missing. So a lot can be helped by affordable sterilization, and that's definitely one of the key things that I can see in solving the problem altogether, and free dogs and so. But when I say that as a problem, is I don't mean to make it sound like the dog is the problem. The problem is the overpopulation and the violence that stems from that. Like in Turkey, where the dogs are now being slaughtered, and but I'm just going to stop while I'm ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of really difficult stories for sure out there. I can definitely say quite a few of them, but it's really heartbreaking. And I agree. And one of the ways that we can start to tackle this problem is adopting from the shelters when we are ready and committed for an animal, and advocating for the sterilization. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you anymore. I just remembered from our initial conversations too, other ways people can help. There's Amazon wish lists or wish lists from maybe another online store that shelters and people have available to help the animals that are in need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always a great thing, because you're not just sending money wondering, okay, well, where's my money going? You're buying something on behalf of that shelter. And again, I would love everyone's support for South Dakota caring for canines. But as such, I rather encourage everyone to do what they can and, support your local shelter. Those local shelters or the ones abroad, they do have an Amazon wish list, and Amazon being such a ultra mega, octopus of merchandise, there are possibilities, and then it's also going to make you feel good. I mean, gosh, when Charlotte was here from Kabul Small Animal Rescue, when she came the last time and stayed in the Washington D.C. area, she had she started the wish list earlier, and literally I'm like, oh yeah, we bought this for her and this, when she showed how everything arrived back in Kabul, and how great does that make you feel? Or, they need the puppy pads, and you bought 3 boxes of puppy pads, and when it comes to the it's just an amazing feeling. But besides, just be kind to animals. If you can't do anything, just be kind. Don't maltreat them. Don't starve them. They don't belong on the chain, outside freezing. Just kindness, and teach your children to be kind to animals, because that is a key component of, our society. And just to quote Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated." And that is so true. So, but also, while you give me this opportunity, it's like, okay, if we are doing this and that, we're helping the animals, we're fundraising, blah blah blah. What else do you do? Well, I have actually sort of specialized myself in being some sort of a hub or information booth, should I say, for adopting an animal from overseas. So say you come across an animal that is in Romania or that is in Iraq or elsewhere, you can come to us and we can help you with the progress. Now, mind you, it is expensive, but for instance, Tabu's Small Animal Rescue, every once in a while when they're busting out of the seams and Charlotte can raise all that money to bring dogs abroad, then definitely, those dogs come here and can be then adopted to the fosters. But if you fall in love with a dog abroad, there are possibilities. And on that note, also I'm always current on CDC requirements, that if someone has a question, and furthermore also on the transport aspect of things, because no U.S. carrier, none of the United States carriers longer provide transport for animals in cargo that for service dogs. So if it's a military service dog or a service dog for someone, only those animals are transported. So often you have to resort to going through a transportation agency, and also those have been vetted by us. There are particularly two wonderful companies that I work with, that if a dog has to be moved, or say you have to go overseas and there is no reason to leave the dog. Often I see that, especially here with Air Force Base, when people have to be deployed, they have to leave their dogs behind. That is not necessarily necessary.
Yeah, I remember when I lived in Mexico, there were so many dogs at times on the street. They would follow you. It's almost like they knew and they could see in the body of the person, oh, this person needs love or is looking for love. There's a little hole in their heart. And then people would bond with that dog. And there's quite a few shelters down there and amazing people doing great work. Sometimes they don't have shelters. They do foster parenting systems. And I've met many of them, and some of them are in my contact list, and I want to bring them on the show next year, and they help people to get ready to fly back north with their pup or their cat, and go through the whole process of sterilization, vaccination, the certificate, and the preparation, getting the kennel. We went through that ourselves with Pixie. We also got Rue from the same town as Pixie. So there's really incredible people out there guiding that process, the paperwork, and making sure that it's, more effortless than just trying to figure that out on your own. So that's really great. They can get information from your organization then.
Yes, absolutely. You can reach out to us at info@SouthDakotaCaringForCanines.org.
Perfect.
And send a message, or send us a message through the portal on both of our websites, SouthDakotaCaringForCanines.org or whynotcreations.com. You can basically connect with us through both. And we are here to help if you have a dog you want to rescue. And I would like to underscore, we will not help you with dogs that are from a breeder.
Yeah.
You will have rescue dog. So I just don't want to, I know this sounds a little strong, but I want to put the message out there. It is rescue dogs. And so just like that dog that told us you're on the beach in Bali or wherever, you know, there are ways to bring those pets home and give them a nice life. But we are no portal for any sort of breeders and how to get a dog from A to B in that kind of circumstance. So we just won't stop the voiceless.
I have to say the rescue dogs are just so cute, and oftentimes they're very wide mix of genetics that maybe they're even smarter. Who knows, you know, but I know that they're super cute, and we've had such an amazing result with our adoptions. They're very smart, very responsive, so grateful. They are so easy to train. The two female dogs that we've had, Pixie and Rue, they're just so willing and they're so happy to have a home. I can feel it. I do a lot of animal communication and mediumship courses with my teacher to really connect with Pixie on the other side, and also to connect with Rue and to be able to exchange messages back and forth. And you really can. They really can understand through pictures, you know. And I can just tell just by looking at her, the way she acts in the house. She has her dad, she has her mom, and, you know, her little brother, or her big brother for her, and they play, and I can just see it in her eyes. Now I'm home. Now I know what this whole journey was about. And I feel like there's a sense of gratitude there that goes beyond words. Again, for me, the dog is my teacher because they are so loyal, so caring, so loving, so forgiving. There is so much we can learn from them. And truly, it's man's or woman's best friend. You know, they, for so many years, they've been by our side, having a mutual relationship, and it's really evident. So if I could, I always tell to my husband, I'm like, I would love to have a ranch. Bring them all. I just want to be the mom to all of them. And it's a dream that many of us share, but oftentimes we maybe don't do that. So what's the next best way? You know, let's help the people that are helping them already.
Not all of us can win the lottery, you know.
I know.
Have to fight to win the lottery. Oh my goodness! But to your point, as far as the dog from the shelter, a word of caution. Not often. It's one of those hallmark moments where the dog jumps into your arms.
You right.
Have to be extremely patient. Because dogs in those shelters are survivors. They're not losers. You know, I mean, I have people who say, you know, I would never take a shelter dog because, you know, they're broken. Well, they are broken because we broke them. And the dog itself would never be mean. It is the entire environment. So let's just say you do commit, you have the opportunity and the availability and the heart and the finances, you know, to say, okay, I can make that commitment. And you do choose a shelter dog. First of all, you know, it will take a while to bond. There's the 3-3-3 rule. It takes 3 days for the dog to decompress to come to your house, 3 weeks for the dog to learn and adhere to any sort of routine, and 3 months for that dog to really feel at home. During that time, you need to have some sort of common sense measures, you know, where you can just put the dog on the leash and walk and so. And often dogs are returned to the shelters because people can simply not cope that they don't have a dog jumping into their arms, and, you know, poopsies are in the house and accidents and so forth. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, that's not what I signed up for. Let's give this dog back to the shelter. So again, you got to soul search. Are you prepared for that commitment? Because you are doing the dog more harm returning it once again than really thinking this through. And then there are really, really great mechanisms online, and particularly locally here, we have some fantastic dog training facilities here. And one of them I'd like to highlight is Hannah England. She is the owner of Canine Tactics. And she, indeed, she normally trains service dogs, and she's an excellent trainer that will, teach you and your dog in a very fast time to actually train the both of you. And so, again, don't give up. Just be prepared that this may be an extra step. Because, one of the dogs was the sweetest, and it ended up actually being more dad's dog. So my husband, is a daddy's boy, was the one that it was a hot mess in the shelter. And my husband saying, Eva, are you sure we are going to get this dog? Yes, and now we can't even imagine without him. And so, but it took a really long time. But again, often, just the dog that doesn't look at you in the shelter and sits in the corner, that may be the one for you. So don't judge a book by its cover, but rather, if indeed things don't work out, don't dismiss the situation instantly. Don't give up so easily, but resort to either, there's tons of stuff on YouTube, or resort to investing in a dog trainer. And again, Canine Tactics here in Rapid City, they're amazing. They do amazing work.
Thank you so much for that recommendation. I will put it on the show notes. And again, thank you so much for that reality check. It's true. My little story about Pixie and Rue is, after the fact. But yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, and definitely a lot of details that I left out in terms of the process of acclimation. There can be lots of frustrations and hard moments. I remember with Pixie, we had some difficulties in the beginning because we were living in apartments, and, dogs are very funny about the kinds of things they like to roll into and eat from the ground. So we went through some really difficult moments in the beginning, and just acclimating her into a different environment, which wasn't very natural for her. But at the time, that's just how we lived. And then with Rue, she came, I got them very little when they were puppies too. So luckily we were able to really coach them and guide them towards the kind of family life they were going to have. But, being really careful if you have kids or toddlers, not just like we talked about education, which is a consistent thing for us, like how to take care of the animal, how to teach empathy and compassion. But, maybe getting to talk with a trainer before jumping into a relationship with a puppy or a dog if you already have kids, because it gets tricky. Luckily for us, we are both super dog lovers, and I've also, through over the years in my experience, trained a few dogs, love watching videos, love learning. I had the experience with Pixie, so I felt more prepared, but I was also really nervous at first, getting a dog that I haven't even met. I just had to really trust and really check in on the signs and the communication that I was already doing with Pixie and my mom on the other side, if you believe in that kind of stuff. We certainly do here at home. But I was just seeing all the signs that this was Rue, was meant to be for us. And then once she came, there's been a lot of patience, a lot of trust and patience and working together. And a lot of the times the training is for us as the humans. It's us that are being broken into, being very patient. It took us about almost 3 months to do the potty training really well. Mm-hmm. And we did lots of videos. But I love the idea of a trainer as well that you can hire to get more hands-on, especially if you feel like you want to have a dog as part of your family. I think that would be really helpful, because it does get really tricky, especially when kids are very little. Somehow, we, by the grace of God, we've been very lucky that so far so good of the integration, and knock on wood that it keeps being that way, because they're both very little. But what it has really meant for us is that we don't leave them alone. Never. 24/7 with both of them. And since I'm a stay-at-home mom, I have the privilege of being able to be with both of them, and at times, putting them in different places, a lot of education. That old crib of the infant months that came into use again. Don't throw your crib. Keep it, because that crib can be very useful for putting the kiddo or the puppy in there when you want them both to have a little timeout, or you need a little timeout yourself and you want to make sure you're being safe. It's been so helpful, and now it's all banged up, and it has all these like scratch marks and everything. So now I feel good that this crib got really good use. We try to make, reuse our things and make the most of them. But yeah, it's a whole process. I think the dog trainer idea though is really important, and just everything that you mentioned, bringing in the reality check of when you adopt a dog, the patience, the self-training. Yeah, it's so true. There's so much more to the story of like, the golden moments that we've had together. There's been a lot of work and a lot of patience. And I have to say that Pixie broke me in. She was my first teacher. She got to see all the hard parts of our humanity, when we get angry, when we get frustrated, when we don't know what to do. She broke me in. She made me into a human. That's the reason why I love her so much, and I love my dog so much, because left to our own devices, we're just in these minds and we don't become as empathic. But when you're caring for an animal and you start to fall in love with them that way, and you see their gifts to the world, you can't help it. You just really start to learn how to become more patient and more compassionate. And the dog is a powerful teacher for that. And we feel like it's an important part of our family to teach our son how to relate with these little beings and how to take care of them. So work in progress. That's what we're doing in our home.
In summation, I'd like to say that my message is that the protection of animals applies to all of us. And we have a moral and ethical responsibility for these voiceless creatures.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when it's done really well and the kids grow up with that kind of awareness very early on, I mean, it's our hope that this can grow into him and he can carry that forward towards that contribution that we want to see, about like the quote that you gave of Gandhi, and the dogs and Mother Earth itself, like how we treat her and that gratitude. And it's clearly the way you treat your environment and the animals is, it's a reflection of our consciousness and where we are in our lives with that. So that's a good one. That's a really good quote. And let's see, I had some other little things actually that I wanted to bring into the podcast. One of them is the awareness of the 4th of July that we had talked about before. And if we can just say a few sentences on that, that would be very helpful. That's usually, including from my pet communicator, is the days that most animals get lost, for example. Can you tell us a little bit more about an education around that particular day?
Sure. I mean, a lot of the animals, they are frightened of noises. And especially on the 4th of July with the fireworks. I mean, how many times do we see the dogs crawl under the chair or in some sort of corner? And so, on that note, on the 4th of July, when fireworks are at the most dogs get lost, or even cats, pets get lost on the 4th of July. That is the day that has the most loss. Now, often, certainly abroad, we have fireworks over New Year's. And also keep in mind, what that does to the animal, whether it's the pet at home or the animal in the shelter, with all that unnecessary noise. How about this? I mean, some countries actually abroad are trying to forbid fireworks, such as Denmark is at the helm right now. And how can you help? In this instance, why buy fireworks when you can actually, instead of using that money for something foolish like that, just respectfully, maybe you think about buying a bag of dog food for the shelter or cat food, So instead of spending money on fireworks, be practical, help the animals and buy a bag of pet food. And also keep in mind what you are doing. I mean, literally, I wouldn't even think of going out when invited to some sort of 4th of July party or so, because I know I have to be home sitting in the corner in the laundry room with our dog, one of our dogs rather, and just to comfort him, because he will be shaking and just have so much fright. That's crazy. And also on that note, now with Christmas, I mean, I go through these stores and look, people, I don't mean to tell you how to spend your money, but I'm looking at so much stuff for Christmas, and coming from Europe and old values, and, you know, just where, you know, when I immigrated to the United States and ultimately became a citizen, I was encouraged by the panel of judges at the swearing in to bring to the table from our heritage and add to America, not take away. And in that spirit, I maintain certain habits, but with on that note, basically with Christmas being about Christmas and not about the avalanche of presents and how it has turned into this whole charade of artificial, cheap decorations, blah, blah, blah. You know, how about instead of buying that, buy a bag of food for the shelter, make a donation or whatever. It's like, how much stuff can you have? And especially, you know, in this time, I mean, Thanksgiving is around the corner, and we, you know, the poor Thanksgiving doesn't even have their own little thing anymore. It's Halloween and then immediately Christmas. But I see this avalanche of decor where I'm thinking that stuff isn't going to last because it's not much quality, and doesn't one out we just spend the money and turn it into something good. And respect to the audience, I don't mean to tell you guys how to spend your money, but just think of the impact and the positivity and the lasting of something profound and meaningful that your contribution will do, instead of, you know, considering the stuff in the store.
Yeah. This year, well, yeah, for sure. Especially with little kids, they go through so many toys, and it's just in the moment, and then you end up with all this stuff, and it becomes a clutter. We're really good at home, for example, to we get toys that have been used, and then once my son has used them, we try to give them away. Same thing with clothing. We do a lot of that recycling through. That really helps our family. And another thing that we've been thinking about, we would rather, because everybody already has everything they really need. And honestly, as we get older, it's the stuff that the money cannot buy is what we really crave, which is the connection and the time together. So we've been thinking about, let's just print a few really cute pictures that we've taken together through the year, and that becomes the Christmas card. And then for a gift, let's just go take them out to dinner or have a dinner together, and then it becomes a memory. And actually, you know, this kind of brings me to the question that I had too, because I've seen on your Facebook that you do bake sales and cookies and cakes and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit more about and I really, really encourage people to follow Ava's Facebook, and maybe you can tell us about that and the kinds of things you post there, because I've seen some really great things.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked.
Yes, for sure. Tell us some more.
In my endeavor to fundraise, again, not everybody has some money to donate and whatever. But if you buy something, then you have, you know, you have something, you're making a purchase. And in that endeavor, well, I have literally dug out my German cooking and baking skills. I mean, I cook even at home for the dogs, but fast forward now to my bake sales. Recently, I have started to make some bake sales, and those are really true things from Germany, with recipes from my grandmother and my mother. And just, you know, and mind you, I'm in my 60s now, so they are old recipes. And I sell my apple streusel and my apple strudel and more at these bake sales that I have. And then some of the nice things that people have donated, or I barter sometimes cake for goods, and I have that. So right now I offer a barrage of stocking stuffers. some of my own creations and then some of the things I just described. And then certainly every week you will find me somewhere with my pop-up shop, my Christmas market pop-up shop. I post a schedule on locally here on Nextdoor and of course on our Facebook site, South Dakota Caring for Canines. So you can see where I'm going to be when. Ace Hardware on Main Street here in Rapids. They are always welcoming us with open arms. They're super generous. The manager there is just an amazing, kind man. Very
great. Wow. Shout out to them. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's just amazing. And then, Connects, now Meat Lumber, I think it's called. In any case, the team at Connects, and so they have offered us for some platforms. And then we have a dear friend, Sharon Dugan, who owns the Celtic shop, which is across the Elk Theater, and they host us sometimes because again, you have to have a venue. And then also Rochelle White, we help out some other, locally, as I've mentioned, and then our friends from Guardian Shepherd Service Dogs, we join forces together and we are at the monument. So right now, in the time of before Christmas, we have either our pop-up shop where we show up every Saturday. We are somewhere, and to highlight this weekend's special event. As you know, it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is the day we light the Christmas tree on Main Street Square. The mayor comes and we have entertainment, and our dear friend Sharon Dugan is allowing us to pop up over there across the Elk Theater to sell our Christmas cookies. So if you are in need for something really special, you can support us by buying homemade German Christmas recipe cookies. We have something for everybody. We will have, of course, our apple streusel. Gosh, we'll have a chocolate cake this time. It's a huge amount of things we are offering. We have a nativity scene in Christmas cookies. We have that as a set. So if you're looking for that special gift when you are invited to a party or you want to have something really nice for yourself, please consider buying something from one of our pop-up shops that we post regularly on our Facebook page. So between now and Christmas, we are out and about. This coming Saturday on the 29th of November, we will be from 11 to 1 over at Ace with the cake only this time, because then we got a button up from there and shuttle over to be at 2 o'clock across the Elk Theater and to sell more of our Christmas cookies and cakes and so forth. So please come and support us. Food is something everyone needs. Yes. So that is and we distinguish ourselves by making true, authentic German things and not something from the books, may I say. But the week after, we will then be again at Ace Hardware from 11 to 2. And again, watch out for our postings on the Facebook site. And then which would be the 6th. And then on the 13th, we finish off with being at the monument when the Grinch is coming. And we will be in partnership once again with our friends from the Guardian Shepherd Service Dogs team, and we will have a booth together there. And then there will be one more, if weather permitting, and we are not snowed in or something. But again, for those events, please check our schedule. And especially, please consider supporting us this weekend on the 29th of November from 11 to 1 at Ace Hardware, and then from 2 to 5:30 across the Elk Theater in Rapid City. We will have our little pop-up shop there as well.
That is wonderful. Wow. You are a star. You're so busy. Now, let me ask you this. Can people help you, or do you have helpers, little elf helpers, since it's a Christmas theme? to do all the baking and the preparation? I'm just curious to know.
It crumbles from the floor. I have 5 4-legged vacuum sweepers.
That's a good one.
My husband is great. He just takes, he just does what he needs to do, whether that's another jump to the store or, doing some sort of chore and task. I mean, gosh, without him, I don't even know where I would be. But I do take care of him. I should mention it.
That's amazing. You guys are angels for sure.
What I do would like and truly need is supporters that actually make a purchase. Like I said, you can't buy in the store. They will be affordable. We'll have something for every budget. But literally, honestly, I got it covered at home because lots of my recipes are in German. So it would be like a wild thing actually having to translate it. I just put my German hat on, figuratively spoken, and I just start baking away. And this week, that will be my main focus anyway, to just, keep on keeping on. And then say you miss us, please call us, text us, send us an email. Say you have some other commitment and you're like, oh man, I really wanted to get this. Let us know. But keep in mind, we are not a professional bakery here. These are bake sales only and have to be, deemed appropriately. It's a bake sale.
Yeah.
Not an official German bakery, but the bake sales profit to helping the animals 100%. And on that note, I do want to underscore South Dakota Caring for Canines, 100%. All proceeds go to help animals in need. My husband and I are able to, whatever materials, whether it's baking ingredients or, my plaster material, whatever you buy from us, may it be a piece of goods that someone has donated to us or something I create or bake or in any other form, please know that whatever you pay for that item will go 100% to help animals in need.
Absolutely. And food brings us together, and the fact that these are sweet treats, it can sweeten the deal, and balance out all the hard work that goes behind this whole cause. Bringing in your cookies, will sweeten the whole thing. So definitely let's support Ava and show up. We will do our best to come to your events. And I wanted to also reemphasize one more time the importance that when people go to your website, they do type South Dakota Caring for Canines, or that it's SD, right? Because there's other Caring for Canines organizations around the country, but we want to make sure that 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 Ava's organization is the South Dakota Caring for Canines. So in the last part here, as we wrap it up, we just want to remind people that these donations are tax deductible through the 501c3 before the year ends. So this is a perfect time to contribute to this cause with very legit and vouched for organizations. And we really encourage people to check out the show notes and the description for all the contacts, emails, websites, Facebook. It's all going to be there so that you can connect with Ava and participate in this beautiful mission that she has created. And the thing about it is that we can have all these ideas and dreams in our hearts, but if we don't materialize them, they just stay as these thoughts and ideas. And you are absolutely a demonstration of how when we get this intuitive hit or this feeling and this, you can't look away anymore. You can't just carry on with your life. This is going to be gnawing at you and nagging you. Come on, we got to do this. This is a clear demonstration of how you listened to those messages and you made it happen for these animals who are so grateful for your work, and we are so grateful that you're doing this. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to contribute and to help through your creations. And like I said, if I can't have the shelter myself or adopt more animals just yet, we will at some point when our son is older. We want to help the people that are doing the work. So I want to thank you so much for your time today, for being on the show, for all your hard work, your devotion, your love, and for helping all these beautiful angels throughout the world, really. And any last words that you want to leave us with before we give a beautiful closure to our episode today?
Well, I would really, from the heart, thank you for having me on to convey my message. And to all the supporters, and you know who you are, because there were some people you would never expect, because it's often that is the ones who have the least are the ones who are most generous. And you know who you are, and I just want to thank you from the heart. And I also want to thank for the audience to listen and respectfully. I didn't mean to offend anyone, but perhaps it's also important to tune into the reality and how things really are, instead of this, particularly this time of year with Christmas, being always, a time of reflection and, inward looking. So thank you for your patience, for listening to what I had to say, and hopefully, please, if you can support us in any way possible, or your favorite charity, we encourage you to do so, especially this time of the year and beyond.
Absolutely, definitely. And just so everybody knows, following Ava on Facebook is really beautiful because she puts a lot of reels, of updates of the animals and shelters that she follows and supports. Also about your events, the fundraising that you're doing. It's a really great way to stay up to date because it is a lot of things that she does. And so I often go to her Facebook to become aware. And also her blog is amazing. And you get to read her articles and her stories of places here in South Dakota as well as places in other countries that she has helped with pictures. The pictures paint 1,000 words, they say, and it really helps you to feel connected with the souls and the animals and the people that are behind these activities and these helping measures that she's taking. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time today and for listening to Ava's message. And hopefully we can do this again, Ava, in next year.
I would love to. Yeah, there's so much more to say, and then some good stories to share. But once again, we for those who would like to help us, please go on our website, www.southdakotacaringforcanines.org, sdcaringforcanines.org. We have 2 donation portals. You can either use through PayPal and donate to us, or Zephy, which is a platform where we actually don't have fees. We would love that. And then lastly, also often we put stuff on eBay or on Marketplace that we turn into cash, and all proceeds of those items go to help the animals. So that is another road to help us. If you see something that Eva selling something, that's something I could use, that's definitely also another way to help us. And lastly, our Etsy store, you will find the link from our store to Why Not Creations. So we have all irons in the fire for us to seek your help, and, either through a donation or something monetary or otherwise. We appreciate all the help you can give us. And thank you from the heart. So God bless.
God bless you. Thank you. Ava, the marketplace, I'm going to put the marketplace as well in the show notes and the Etsy store. Is the marketplace connected to your Facebook, Caring for Canines, the South Dakota Caring for Canines, or is that a separate link?
Because of the way that platform works with Meta, Facebook, it has to be coming from an individual. But, you see all the time, Eva, I'm trying to sell something. And, synonymously, people have Ava Gallant with South Dakota Caring for Canines. Hence, why not creations? It's that woman who wears many hats, but if you see something that's being sold, then definitely it's going to South Dakota Caring for Canines. And all our stuff at Etsy is 100%. Once we sell it and we get the payout from Etsy, that's all going into South Dakota Caring for Canines.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. And I will definitely put those links on the description. And God bless to you too. Thank you both so much, and your 5 dogs as well. They got to share you with us today. Thank you so much for your time. What a beautiful conversation, and I can't wait to do it again next year. We can do catch-up stories and maybe get into the more detailed little stories, maybe about a dog or a particular shelter. We can get in deeper each time, and get some follow-ups and new stories in your life.
I would love that. It would be an honor. Thank you so much, Marcella, for your beautiful work and your compassion in reaching out, and really for the opportunity to tell my story. This was a unique and really, really special opportunity for me, and you made that possible. So thank you so much, dear. You and your family, you many, many blessings.
Thank you so much, and very much received. And it's my honor and my pleasure. Anything that we can do to help. We will be in touch, and much love to everyone. Be safe out there. And thank you again for your time. We will see you in the next episode. Thank you again, Ava.
Perfect. Thank you.
What a beautiful reminder that compassion has no borders. As Ava shared today, caring for others like the animals begins with one brave choice: to answer the call of love. May her story inspire us all to notice where our own soul is asking to serve, to give, or to nurture life. Let's remember we are each a vessel of divine light, capable of bringing healing, joy, and transformation to this world, one soul, one act, and one heartbeat at a time. Thank you for listening and for sharing your light and for being part of this conscious community of awakened hearts and souls. Until next time, take a moment to love yourself, your beautiful fur babies and companions, and your pets, and this beautiful earth we share, and keep blooming exactly as you are. Thank you for being here with us today. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays ahead, and stay close with us because we will be publishing some special episodes for the holidays on self-love and self-care. Thank you for listening to the Empowered Soul Podcast, MC Mama Bird's Chirps, rooted in mama love and blossoming everywhere. If this episode touched your heart, I'd love for you to follow the show and share it with someone you love. There are lots of new creations blooming, so stay close and connect with us at healtruelove.com/links to sign up for my newsletter, follow our social posts, and explore more soulful offerings on YouTube and beyond. Until next time, keep blooming exactly as you are.